Hey guys, what's going on? Megan here. Promise you guys a tier list Tuesday video, so I figured I'd put this one up before it's too late. So I had you guys vote, and one guy mentioned traps, and I completely forgot that I actually didn't cover traps. Now, for those of you guys who are new to the channel, again, the OGs already know that I still believe that traps is the most dominant, most alpha muscle in the human body. Sadly, it's my worst body part. Snap my shit up in the pursuit of traps. Fucked up my lower back, but I'll get to that, in the middle of the video. But anyway, it's the most dominant body part you can have. You walk into any gym, everyone has big arms, big chest, big back, big legs. Those are easy to find, but very rarely you'll find somebody with monstrous traps. Unless he's on the juice, of course. Even most of the guys on steroids have small traps. So, and I'm talking about upper traps mainly. It's such a powerful muscle. To me, everything else is overrated. Everyone's trying to be super lean, trying to have a six pack. Been there, done that. That's overrated in my opinion. You want a six pack, starve yourself. That's easy. But monstrous traps, geez, those are so hard to get by. And you guys know, I was so obsessed with traps since I was a kid that I've done so much research on them. So I know the best exercises, the best way to activate them. But for the sake of this video, we're going to focus on mainly the upper and mid traps. Mainly the upper traps. To me, the upper traps are fucking king, right? To get that broadly look. All right, so there goes the criteria. And keep in mind, guys, the main function of the upper traps is really three functions. The main one is obviously keeping your arms attached to your body. I've made a video about that years ago, right? So the heavier the weight in your hand, the heavier the weight of your arms, the more the upper traps are going to be engaged. So any movement where you're holding or lifting heavy fucking shit, you're going to activate the fuck out of your upper traps. The second thing is obviously scapular retraction. Yes, your upper traps help retracting your scapula as well as the middle traps. And obviously the third primary movement is actually, and that's the one that everyone ignores, it's actually scapular rotation, right? Rotating your scapula, kind of like when you're doing side laterals, right? Obviously the higher you go, the more rotation. Same thing when you're doing overhead presses. If you lock out at the top, your upper traps are actually going to engage the movement. Right, so we're going to pick exercises based on those three functions. All right, so let's get started. So let's start with dumbbell incline shrugs, right? When you incline, now obviously that's going to activate a lot more mid traps, also your upper traps, a little bit of your lower traps. But if I can only pick one exercise for the rest of my life, that wouldn't be it, right? So I want to put that one out okay, right? Decent, get a good contraction. Next, you have power shrugs. Power shrugs I'm going to put at fucking amazing. And remember, guys, you got to get that stretch, right? I've made so many videos about that years ago. You got to get that stretch. Traps are very, very powerful muscle. So the stronger the downward pull, the more they're going to contract to keep your arms attached. So power shrugs, fucking amazing, mainly because of the stretch, right? The contraction, not really using a lot of momentum. It's too fast for your muscle fibers to produce enough force. You're going to recruit them by shrugging up, but they're not going to produce enough force because the velocity is just too high, force velocity relationship. But at the bottom, that stretch is going to activate the shit out of your traps. Next, deadlifts, same thing. So the reason why deadlifts are great trap builders because of the stretch. Crazy imagery activation. I'm going to put deadlifts at fucking amazing. Actually, I'm going to put them at okay. Yeah, fucking amazing. Simply because not only are you activating your upper traps, but at the top of the movement, you're also activating your mid traps to obviously keep your back from rounding forward. So fucking amazing for traps. Next, you have the Facepulls. Facepulls, I'm gonna put the Facepulls at. I'm gonna put the Facepulls at fucking okay, right? Good for your mid traps, good for your upper traps, a little bit of lower trap activation. But again, you're not really getting that stretch, right? So in fact, I'm gonna put this at bad. I'm sorry, right? If I could only pick one exercise for the rest of my life, it wouldn't be Facepulls. And keep in mind, guys, I love Facepulls. If you have my HSP program, Facepulls are in there. Great for traps, great for side delts, great for real delts. Great exercise, but as far as traps go, remember, traps need heavy weight and a stretch overload, right? You're just not getting that with Facepulls. Good if you're trying to get a good contraction, though. So on pump day, this would be amazing. All right, next, we have high pulls. High pulls, I'm going to put them at fucking amazing because you're getting almost all of the functions of the trapezius. You have elevation, you have scapular rotation, you obviously have mid back, you obviously have scapular retraction, right? Really good exercise, and you have a stretch at the bottom, right? So high pulls, great exercise for traps. T-bar rows, believe it or not, T-bar rows is an amazing exercise for traps. For one, as long as you're going heavy, you're gonna have a crazy stretch at the bottom. You're gonna retract your scapula, and obviously, if the weight is heavy enough, you definitely gonna have that stabilizing requirement. So again, fucking amazing, believe it or not. You know, everyone thinks T-bar rows is just mainly a lat movement. No, you're activating your traps, your rhomboids, everything. Next, front raises. Believe it or not, front raises activate your traps, especially if you go overhead. But unfortunately, you're not going to get a crazy stretch at the bottom, and there's a limit on how heavy you can actually go, right? So I'm going to put these at okay. Behind the neck press. Believe it or not, I'm going to put this one at okay. Really good for the traps. Now you might think, well, this is a pressing movement. What is that doing here? Your traps are very, very active when you're doing behind the neck press, especially if you got healthy shoulders, right? One, you're obviously doing scapular rotation. You're also retracting your scapula because remember, you be putting the ball way behind your head. So very, very good exercise for the upper traps. But it's unfortunately not in fucking amazing or I'm about to nut category simply because the stretch is not as powerful, right? In fact, there's no stretch at all. Next, you have the overhead shrug. Man, I fucking hate this dumbass exercise. But I put this one at bad, right? Yes, you got a good contraction in your traps. You're mainly doing scapular rotation all the way at the top, right? You're going to get a sick contraction. But number one, you can't go stupid heavy. Number two, there's zero stretch, right? Zero stretch involved. And lastly, the range of motion is trash, right? So I'm definitely going to put this one at bad, right? You're not going to meet someone and say, oh, man, your traps are massive. What did you do? Oh, I did overhead shrugs. Fuck that, right? Nobody says that. Next, bent over row. Again, I'm going to put bent over row at fucking amazing. Surprisingly, as long as you go heavy, right? As long as you go heavy, one, you're going to have the stretch at the bottom. You're going to have the scapular retraction. Obviously, your arms are holding heavy-ass weight, so the traps are going to be very, very, very engaged. And, of course, you're activating your upper, lower, and mid traps. Next, neck curls. For the OGs, the OG subscribers know what I'm talking about. I used to be obsessed with training my neck years ago. Again, I was looking for the secret to big traps, guys. And sure enough, you know, training your neck is going to activate your upper traps. The only downside is it's obviously awkward. You got to find, you know, not every gym have the equipment for it. At one point, I even bought the neck harness. And eventually I stopped because I started getting neck pains. I was doing it wrong. I was getting imbalances because I was only focusing on one side. So I finally dropped it. You know, it's one exercise that, you know, you don't want to just do one side. You want to do the front, the back, and in some cases the side. But I started getting neck pain, so eventually I stopped. But yeah, this is me trying it out at the gym using, I think that was the side. I forgot what fucking machine that was. It was definitely not a neck machine, but me and Marco were fucking around. I decided to train my neck with that. But anyway, so I'm going to put that one at obviously bad, right? If I could only do one exercise for the rest of my life, it would not be this when it comes for trap development. Next, cable roll to the chest. This one is obviously going to his belly button, but cable roll to the chest is okay, right? Good exercise for traps. It's going to activate your lower traps, your mid traps, and a little bit of your upper traps. Wide grip upright roll. Now, this exercise is fucking amazing, guys. For one, man, keep in mind, this is, you know, I recommend people go even wider than this, right? Because the closer you go, the more biceps are involved. One, you're obviously hitting your side delts. Now, no, this is not a video for side delts, but it's a nice bonus, right? You're hitting your side delts. If you bend slightly forward, you're also going to hit a little bit of your posterior deltoids, but this will fry your upper traps. A lot of scapular rotation, a little bit of elevation, some retraction at the top of the movement, and as you go heavier and heavier, you're going to get a good stretch at the bottom. Next, you have the wide raise. I'm going to put this one as bad. It's a good exercise for traps, guys, but keep in mind, this is mainly going to hit your lower traps. Mainly. Obviously, it's going to hit a little bit of your upper and mid, but it's mainly a lower trap exercise. Now, even though the lower traps is actually the biggest part of your traps, I'm not too concerned, right? You know, this video is mainly for upper trap development. If I could only pick one exercise, it would not be this one. So again, I'm not saying these are bad exercises, guys. I'm just saying relative to the top ones. Yeah, they're down here. Next, you have, again, coronavirus version, right? This is the home version, the inverted row, right? So if you're doing bodyweight training or if you're training at the park, this one is a nice, it's pretty much the cable row to chest version, but you're obviously doing, you know, body weight. So I'm going to put this one out okay. Very good for mid traps, very good for lower traps, and a little bit for upper traps. Now, of course, you know what's going to be an okay and up here. There's no stretch. Side laterals. Again, I'm going to put side laterals out okay. People forget that side laterals activates the fuck out of your traps, especially if you go heavy and you bend your arms a little bit. Really, really good exercise for not just side delts, but also upper traps. The only downside is, again, you know, there's no stretch at the bottom. Military press. Again, as long as you lock out at the top, you're going to get crazy, crazy upper trapezius contraction. But I'm going to put this one out okay for the reasons mentioned before. Haney shrug. Again, I'm going to put this one out okay, right? For the reasons mentioned before. You're going to get a good contraction. You're going to get good scapular retraction. But you can go really heavy on this, right? So the stretch at the bottom is going to be very poor. Next, headstand push-up. I want to put this one at bad, right? It's pretty much the opposite of the military press, just using your body weight. If you have no other option, this is a good exercise for your upper trap. Also, a little bit of your mid and lower. But again, for the sake of this video, it's going to be down here, right? If I could only pick one exercise, I would not pick this one. Reverse flies. I'm going to put this one at okay, mainly because you get a really, really good activation of all three regions. So your upper traps are engaged, your middle traps are engaged, and obviously your lower traps. And you also get the bonus of training your side delts and your real delts. People think this is only a real delt exercise. It actually activates your side delts a lot because of the overlap. And if you go heavy, you're really going to feel this in your traps and rhomboids. Dumbbell shrugs, again, I'm going to put this at okay, unless you go really heavy. If you go really heavy and you turn this into a power shrug, then I want to put it at fucking amazing, right? But just the standard dumbbell shrugs, I'm going to put them at okay. Again, because you're not really getting that deep stretch at the bottom. Monkey shrugs, I'm going to put these at okay because they're kind of like a bootleg, great value version of wide grip upright row. You're going to feel a good contraction. It's going to activate your upper traps, a little bit of your mid traps, but almost no lower trap activation, right? This is mainly the scapular elevation and scapular rotation function of your traps. And of course, there's no stretch at the bottom, so it can't go higher. Heavy barbell shrugs. Again, I'm going to put these at fucking amazing, mainly because of the stretch at the bottom. And keep in mind, this is heavy barbell shrugs, not light shrugs, right? So I want to put these here because the heavier you go, the deeper the stretch and the higher the EMG activity. Wide grip barbell shrugs, those are going to be in fucking amazing, but obviously higher than the regular version, right? As I mentioned, not only are you getting the stretch at the bottom, but notice the arm angle, right? So you activate the traps a lot more if you're doing snatch grip, quote unquote wide grip shrugs as opposed to the standard version, because there's an additional scapular rotation element here. Remember, the upper trap fibers are not vertical, they're slightly horizontal, so this is going to activate them a lot more than the standard version. But both will give you an insane stretch, so fucking amazing. Farmer walks. I'm about to nut. Guys, this exercise, now obviously soreness is not a great predictor of hypertrophy, but I'm telling you guys, this exercise will fuck the shit out of your traps. Such a great trap builder. The downside is it's not very practical, right? Unless if your gym is crowded, very hard to do this, and it only works if you're going heavy. If you're going heavy, this exercise is amazing. Your mid traps are going to get engaged, so obviously stop your back from rounding. Your upper traps are going to get engaged because again, your arms are heavy as fuck. It has to keep your arms attached to your body. On top of that, you're walking, so all your stabilizer muscles are activating. I mean, this thing activates your traps more than any fucking exercise out there. Except for one. Trust me, guys. Farmer walks, heavy farmer walks are insane. Next, the Kroc roll. Again, I'm going to put it at fucking amazing, mainly because you're getting scapular retraction and you're getting a crazy, crazy stretch at the bottom. Power cleans. I'm going to put power cleans at fucking amazing. And this is cleans, any clean variation. Really good for traps. There's a reason why all these Olympic lifters have jack traps, right? That's all they do. Clean, clean, cleans, pulls, right? Cleans will have you sore as fuck the first time you do them. The reason why they're not higher is because the risk of injury is too high, for bodybuilding purposes. You don't want to do power cleans for bodybuilding, right? You're going to snap your shit up eventually. But this thing does almost every function of your traps. Scapular retraction, scapular rotation, obviously some elevation. I mean, power clean, especially if you're doing a clean and press. If you're doing a clean and press, then you're combining this and that, and it's just fucking God mode. But again, it's not practical for bodybuilding purposes, right? The risk of injury is way too high. Next, behind the back shrug. I'm going to put this one at okay, man. Behind the back shrug. You can't go stupid fucking heavy on those. And also, your range of motion is limited if you have a big butt. Next, the Yates row. Again, I'm going to put the Yates row at fucking amazing as long as you're going heavy. Just be careful so that you don't fuck up your bicep like Dorian Yates did. You're getting crazy scapular retraction here. And again, if you go heavy, you're going to get a good stretch at the bottom. It's not going to be an amazing stretch, but it's going to be decent. And I kept the best for last. The OGs knew this was coming. This is me here back in 2012. The rack pull above the knee. This is the king of all trap exercises. I remember I was so in love with this exercise back in 2012. I used to call these the Megan pulls because nobody was doing them. And I used to wonder, why is nobody doing this shit? Out of every trap exercise I've tried, nothing, and I mean nothing, gave me results faster and got my traps more sore than the rack pull. And eventually, for those of you who are wondering, that side snapped my shit up. And that's the big red flag. That's the big disclaimer here. When you're doing rack pulls, you gotta make sure you warm up properly and you don't get too fucking excited, because that's the mistake I made. I was making so much progress on these, and my traps were finally growing. Keep in mind, my traps are my worst body part ever. So I was finally getting results on these that I was getting ahead of myself. I was just piling on the weight. I was skipping warm-ups. I was just rushing. You know how when you're doing rack pulls, you obviously have to warm up 1 plate, 2 plate, 3. I was just going in and just slapping plates, skipping warm-ups. And sure enough, fucked up my back, right? On top of the deadlift stuff. So, and this is how you know this is this is the best exercise of all time, because after I snap my back up, I try to use the other exercises to bring up my traps. Wrong, did not work. Did not work as well as the rack pull. The stretch you are getting at the bottom of this is insane. Your traps have to work to stabilize your scapula. Your traps have to work to keep your arms attached to your body. And every fucking motor unit is recruited when you're doing this movement. Every motor unit. And remember, guys, the traps are very, and I mean very fucking strong, which is why this exercise is so fucking powerful, because none of these movements here will allow you to use the weight you're going to be using in rack pulls. None. Right? But like I said, the danger is up there. You got to be careful, guys. You can snap your shit up if you don't warm up properly and if you ego lift, which is the mistake I made. And now I got to spend the rest of my life with that mistake, right? Even to this day, guys. I mean, this was back in 2012. We're now in 2021. Years later, my back is still fucked up, right? I'm always doing rehab work. I can no longer do heavy shrugs. I can no longer do bent over rolls unless I'm using a machine. I mean, anything that uses my lower back is compromised. So yeah, guys, it's the best exercise of all time for traps, but it comes with a heavy cost if, I repeat, if you do dumb shit, right? If I was warming up properly, I would have had no issue. And also keep in mind, I already had a deadlift injury going into this injury here. So so technically it's the deadlifts that actually led to my rack pull injury. All right, guys, that's it. Sadly, there was no pure garbage exercise for traps. If I had to pick one, you know what, for the sake of this video, let's pick one. It'll be this one. Get the fuck out of here, right? Nobody's fucking doing this for traps, right? But with coronavirus, it might actually have a place, for those who don't have things. But even if your gym is closed, just buy some fucking dumbbells and do any of these movements, right? But yeah, so that's it, guys. Make sure your program has these exercises involved, right? Anything from fucking amazing or I'm about to nut, and as little as possible from these exercises here. All right, comment below. Let me know what you want me to rank next Tuesday. All right, guys, don't forget to like or share the video, subscribe and hit the bell, and buy my HSP Nucleus Overload Training Program. It's the ultimate program for maximum muscle growth. It includes full body workout splits, bro splits, push-pull, home workouts, you name it. Also comes with a complete guide for macros, nutrition, fat loss, muscle growth, hormones, including a meal plan. It's pretty much all my 16 years of experience condensed into one fucking book. You're also going to get free copies of any future edition. So visit Team3DAlpha.com and you can use the 40% off coupon code Nucleus Overload. Or you could just buy the shit at full price. Alright, guys, I'm out of here.